Well, welcome to another edition of the Johnnie Torch live program. Here we are, program number 245. And we bring you the Torch News Roundup number 202. This lovely Saturday afternoon, the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Johnnie Torch live program, starting fashionably early for a change, about 5 minutes early. It's a hot one, at least in my neck of the woods, and I remember last year having difficulty in the summer not knowing where to position the fan in the room. I didn't know if you could hear it. There were some broadcasts, I think it was picked up and it sounded too distracting. I think if I put it far enough in the room, it won't pick up on the mic, but I'm not going to take that chance, which means I am going to be sweltering here. So if you hear me fanning myself old school with what appears to be a piece of junk mail. I'm doing it right now. I don't know if you can hear it. If that is also too distracting, please let me know in the comments below, and periodically I'll have to do this, but I will try not to do it very often. It's from a non-profit center, so I don't know. It might be important. Maybe it might be a charity I can give to, but that's what I'm using here for cooling purposes, if you do hear it. All right, so welcome into the show. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here, and the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Johnnie Torch program. We've got a big show as usual, a lot of stuffs to get through and to get to. But first order of business, I don't think I said this for the last 2 weeks, but it's important to like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. We're getting a lot of subs. As I said, I think a week or two ago, we're having sort of a strange situation with the subs where I'll gain 3, I'll lose 2, I'll gain 2 and lose 3. Somehow I'm kind of stuck in this area of about 224 is where we're at now. It fluctuated many times over the past couple of weeks from 225 to 222, then back up again. I don't know if it's just YouTube playing hell with my emotions, but whatever the case, make sure you subscribe. Thank you for all the kind comments that I've been getting lately. We don't have a mailbag segment today. I don't think there was any comments lately. But always appreciated all the likes, and it's been helping the algorithm a lot. Like I said, my Wonder Woman retrospective video has been very popular lately, especially since the Wonder Woman 1984 came out, which wasn't that well received, I suppose. I thought it was okay, but hasn't been too well received. But of course, everybody loves the Linda Carter series, so check out my retrospective on that. The beverage of choice here today is a generic cola. So, again, apologies when you hear me periodically having to take a guzzle. All right, we're going to take a look for a second here before we carry on with the show proper. Let's take a look at one of the most recent pages in the upcoming Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, issue number 8, Temptation Eyes. Here we have a action scene that's begun in Adam Apple's Speakeasy. Of course, you can see here Bullets Bourbon is in disguise, taking on the Fruit Salad Mob, who, of course, are headed by Don Adam Apple. And just a great action scene here. We have the pool table and the pool cues being used as weapons. We have the neon bordering on the floor. There's also neon bordering in the corners of the ceiling. This was kind of difficult for me to decide if I wanted to put the neon at the top of the panels too, but I didn't want that to make the room look too small. But they're supposed to be bordered with really thick neon lights. So I really had fun with that. As I've said many times, this is sort of my tribute to 90s comics. I'm not particularly a fan of 90s comics, and I'm kind of playing with the tropes of 90s comics, though, here, where the hero Bullet Bourbon is sort of acting like an anti-hero here. He's more violent, he's more brutal, he's more brooding than ever before, because he's a particularly, jovial character. He's pretty well-tempered, even-tempered. And here he's a lot more serious, a lot more brooding, which is kind of something we did in the 90s. And then, of course, the neon coloring is sort of indicative of that period. We also have him in black. That was sort of the big thing, right? I mean, I suppose it started with Spider-Man's black costume, but there was this idea where the black, denotes a serious hero. Batman is now totally in black. The X-Men suits are now all black. And, that was closer to I think the year 2000 that film came out. But again, that's sort of also what we're doing here. And, interesting sort of trappings that are exclusive kind of to this issue. And of course, I suppose Veronica being the, uber babe, which is what comics kind of sold themselves on a lot at that point as well, was having a well-drawn babe, which which I am never at a loss of providing, need I say more. All right, so thank you for checking this out. You can check out the link in the description below for The Adventures of Bullet Bourbon Private Eye. The first chapter in this story, The Family Jewels, which is the name of the overall arc. It's a it's a 3-issue arc taking on, Bullets is sort of being tempted by the dark side in this episode. Veronica is an emissary of Carrot Top, though we really don't know whose side is she on. Is she really loyal to Carrot Top, or does she want to sort of play Bullets for her own purposes? And of course, we have the 10,000 Carrot, which is the statuette that both sides are warring over, both of the prime gangster clans in Stark City, the Vegetable Garden Gang, headed up by Carrot Top's father, Parsnip Top, or the Fruit Salad Mob, headed up by Don Adam Apple. So again, check out the link in the description below. You can find all this and more there. And hopefully we'll have some more convention appearances to bring. I'm looking into what I can do to come to a few more conventions this year. Apparently, the crisis is over. I'm not seeing it too much anywhere else. Most of the country is opened, I think, at this point. Most of the states are allowing full capacity, or if not, they will be by probably June. So hopefully convention appearances will continue to grow and become plentiful. You can find out that information on where I am heading. Here, I will make the announcement on YouTube, but of course, you can check out my Twitter page, the link in the description below, and of course, you could find out on my website, link also in the description below. If you want to contact me, the best way to do it is probably from being on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, check out my website as well for my contact page. You can find a email hookup there where you can automatically email me if you have any questions, comments, requests, or perhaps want to invite me to a con or a stream. You could do it there. That would be the best place. All right, so yeah, please check it out. I'm really excited about this issue. I'm really excited about this story arc. This issue we're hoping will be out probably realistically no sooner than July, but I was hoping it'd be done by May. I still have about 5 more pages to do. Oh man, this is a killer. I'm kind of wondering if I should hire a colorist for such projects, because this was a very difficult project to color, because I do it all. And if I were to hire a colorist, though, I'm sure that it would become very expensive. And unfortunately, that's not something I can afford right now. But, I'm torn between wanting to do the job all by myself, the pride that comes from doing the whole job yourself, which I sort of pride myself on, and the churning out of the books at a more timely rate. I want to be able to do at least 2 books a year. This one is already taking up a little more time than I expected. And, of course, the third issue in this arc, I'm hoping will still come out this year. And that, of course, is sadly titled The Death of Bullets Bourbon. So it's quite a story arc. That's why I said, if you want to get in on the Bullets Bourbon saga, this is the time to do it before it's over, before it's too late. But the family Jules, the first part of the story, finds Bullets wanting to retire. He's had enough. It's getting to him that he can't capture Carrot Top. It becomes an obsession. The second chapter that we're on now, which is Temptation Eyes, also introduces him, of course, to, as I said, Veronica, who is trying to lure him to the dark side, so there is a possibility that he may turn evil. That kind of is how it goes when you pursue the dark side so long. Sometimes you just get caught up in it. And then, of course, the third and final act of this 3-act play, The Death of Bullets Bourbon, and just exactly how does that come to pass? Who is responsible? How does that come to be? And is there another day after that issue? Or is the series over at just 9 brief issues and what would end up being 4 collections? You'll have to read to find out. So thank you, and please continue to check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. All right, so let's get to the news. This is all the news you need in pop culture, all the stuff that's going on. Let's take a look at the first story we have here today. This was just released not long ago, about a day or two ago. And this is Bart Allen's first appearance on The Flash, the CW series. Described as the fastest teenager on the planet, Bart's parents, Barry Allen, played by Grant Gustin, and Iris West Allen, played by Candace Patton, are faced with the responsibility of tempering his impatience and wild impulsiveness. In order to stop Team Flash's biggest threat yet, Bart/Impulse will team up with his parents and sister Nora, XS, Jessica Parker Kennedy, in the 150th episode of The Flash, titled Heart of the Matter Part 1. This image did receive a not undue amount of scorn when it was revealed, and it is, quite honestly, kind of obviously bad Photoshop. Again, Bart Allen was kind of a funny character in the comics. I remember, I think as I mentioned last week, I really couldn't get too deeply into Flash comics at a certain point. It just wasn't for me. But he was an interesting character. It's going to be interesting to see how they play him here. Of course, this is the race-changed Bart Allen, because obviously the whole West family has been race-changed, so they did the same thing with Wally, and I guess XS, who I really don't know from the comics. I don't remember her. I know Impulse was a big hit when he was created, about 25 years ago. And I remember reading about him. Was like I said, an interesting character. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I'm still watching The Flash. I'm still watching all these CW shows. I know a lot of people have already said sayonara, but I don't know. I'm just going to stick with it until the end. They're not terrible. I think The Flash, honestly, this season, I kind of feel like they jumped the shark. I kind of feel like The Flash has already said everything they've got to say, and at this part, to continue on is going to be falling into that, that classic jump the shark pit where you have, well, let's see what's going on right now in this season. We have, again, spoilers, I suppose, if you haven't seen the season and you care enough not to be told the spoilers. Caitlyn's other half, Killer Frost, has merged out of her or whatever and is now 2 separate people. And Cisco Ramon is going to leave the show. He's going to move with his girlfriend, apparently, so he's not going to be killed off, but he's not going to be a regular on the show anymore. Frost has been sent to jail for life without parole. Apparently, Tom Cavanaugh is also not going to continue on as a regular character. He may recur for all we know, but they pretty much did everything they could with Tom Cavanaugh, I guess, and the many different wells. So it does feel very much at this point in time. This is sort of where, this is where the other Darren comes in. You know what I mean? The show will continue on. Maybe it won't be terrible, but I think we're at a certain point now where we're going to have the show split in two, and you're going to kind of remember the glory days of The Flash, which one would argue only comprised the first 2 seasons, possibly 3. And then you're going to have the rest of the series, the rest of the shows. I don't know. I think it's interesting because Stephen Amell, I think, got out feeling it was the right time with Arrow, because they were doing sort of the same thing there. They were really not doing anything new. They weren't doing anything fresh. They couldn't come up with anything that was in the same vein without feeling repetitive. And also you had Emily Bett Rickards kind of wanted to move on. They gave them their happy ending, and then she kind of lost interest, because honestly, the rest of the viewing audience probably were going to lose interest if she didn't. But, it's like one of those things. I just wish they had a better writing staff and kind of wanted to, go more comic based. You know what I mean? Try to get more into what made these characters and storylines popular in the comics. Also, of course, you got to remember that other shows that are on now, many of them are also, I don't know if they're being canceled or if they're supposedly just on their own ending. Supergirl's ending this season. Black Lightning's last episode is next week. And Black Lightning has not been great this season. I usually do this on a special broadcast where I just talk about the whole seasons of these shows. And I'll probably do that later, but hasn't been great, but the show has been pretty watchable. It's been very watchable, I think, and they're setting up a Painkiller spinoff, which I think Jordan Calloway is phenomenal. I'll tune in. I'll see how it is. That, it should work as a spinoff. They're sort of teasing the big finale with Tobias Whale and Black Lightning. Superman and Lois are back. They're the new kids in town. That's the show that's kind of still trying to get off the ground. I feel very conflicted with that show because on the one hand, it doesn't feel overly woke. It's less woke than pretty much any other show on the CW and the DC canon. But it is a chore for me to sit through. It's very much a chore. It feels like, particularly with Superman and Lois being very much in character, one would think they could find better storylines than, well, Lois is going to sort of go off and run her investigations in private, get in trouble, and Superman's not really around. And then you got Superman sort of coaching Little League for his teenagers. I mean, this is not really stuff that, when you have 3 minutes of Superman and a show called Superman and Lois, you're really shortchanging the audience. And I think so far they've done that. Now, if they'd taken the line that Black Lightning took, which is to show what it's like to be a family with powers and how you have to bring them into the fold, that might be one thing. But it's obvious, I think, particularly because the kids are not really too big of an issue in the comics. There was a Jonathan Kent in the comics, and I don't know exactly what happened there, but Superman doesn't have a huge history of having kids, let alone super kids. So it's kind of another reason why that show is stalled, and I don't see when they're really ever going to hit their stride. They have to focus more on Superman and him doing important stuff. But I'm guessing the budget would have to be pretty big for that as well, which is another reason why they haven't gone there. Legends of Tomorrow is, as it always is, Legends of Tomorrow. I saw the first 2 episodes. The first one was really good, I thought, but again, it's just kind of wacky and goofy. Anyway, I guess we are sort of belaboring the point there, but that's kind of where it stands right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below about the CW verse. What do you think about Bart Allen? What do you think about his introduction, his potential introduction to the show forthcoming? All right, we've got some big screen news to talk about. Indiana Jones 5 is on the way. Indy V. And we have rumors now. I have to caution everybody, this is from the rumor mill, and I don't really talk rumors all that much on the show. I like to have something a little more substantial, but these things that we're talking about here sound a little more plausible than most, so let's see what they have to say. As the cast of Disney Lucasfilm's still untitled Indiana Jones movie continues to grow, the first plot details for the upcoming 5th installment have found their way online. And it sounds like director James Mangold may have some surprising things in store. According to the Illuminati, the movie will be set in the 1960s during the space race. That's kind of, we expected it would be in the 60s, but space race, this is kind of curious. Indy once again will be coming up against his favorite foes, the Nazis. Now, you kind of felt like they were going to have to do that because, you know, everything is Nazis these days, punch a Nazi and all that. But where the heck do you find Nazis in the 60s? I mean, they're going to be probably about 70 years old, and I don't know, what do they do? I don't know. As a threat, they're going to be this little clan of Nazis? I don't know. It doesn't sound that promising. Mads Mikkelsen is believed to be playing the villain, hard to believe, we know, and his character is described as a Nazi scientist enlisted into NASA by the United States government to work on the space agency's moon landing initiative. So Indiana Jones in space is what they're saying it's going to be. I don't know. The more recently cast Shawnette Renee Wilson, meanwhile, will play Mikkelsen's CIA handler. Apparently, a female villain described as an evil and brutal killer will also factor into the story. Is that Phoebe Waller-Bridge by any chance? I don't know. Black Widow star Scarlett Johansson is said to have passed on this role. That's interesting. That would have been great to see her in an Indiana Jones movie, but it's interesting to see who the heck would play this character. Since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull took place in 1957, the 60s setting does make sense, but putting a modern slant on the franchise by introducing the space race elements may not sit well with some fans. Of course, this doesn't necessarily mean we'll see Indy rocket off to the stars for a full-on sci-fi adventure, but the last movie did feature aliens, so anything's possible. The source is generally reliable, but it's best to treat this as a rumor for the time being. Indiana Jones 5 will star Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Thomas Kretschmann, Logan director James Mangold is taking the helm, and it's confirmed John Williams will return as composer. Kathleen Kennedy, Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall, and Simon Emanuel will serve as producers. Indy 5 swings into theaters July 29th, 2022. So this baby is getting ready to be filmed probably pretty soon. That's kind of interesting. Big fan of the Indiana Jones movies. Again, only time will tell. Now, I kind of feel like we did leave Indiana Jones in a good place in Crystal Skull. I know that a lot of people badmouth Crystal Skull, and it wasn't perfect by any means. But I still say it felt enough like an Indiana Jones movie where it's not a bad place to leave him. He reconciled with Marion. He has a kid that's supposedly going to be his successor someday. You could always flash forward to that and just, even if the kid is played by somebody else other than Shia LaBeouf, they already set the stage kind of as the final Indy adventure and the successor. If you do this here now where you're going to completely divorce Indiana Jones, pun intended, from where we left him last time, just marrying Marion and having a son that he was apparently going to go on adventures with or something. This sounds like it is so far removed. I don't really think you can remove Indiana Jones too much farther than where we left him in Crystal Skull. Now, obviously, that was over 10 years ago, so things will have changed for Indiana Jones. The time frame probably has to match that, but they can even fudge that somewhat. I don't know. I still don't know what to think. But hopefully it will not be a total embarrassment like Star Wars sequel trilogy. All right, moving on ahead now. We have some news about the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie, the Sonic franchise. Let's see, Sonic 2, I think, has wrapped shooting, and now it's all in the hands of the CGI marvels, the CGI wizards. Let's see. A plot synopsis has surfaced online via IGN that sheds light on what to expect from the sequel. It comes our way via a copyright filing from Paramount Pictures and Sega, and confirms that Knuckles will be teaming up with Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. After settling in Green Hills, Sonic is ready for more freedom. Tom and Maddie agree to leave him home while they go on vacation, but no sooner are they gone when Dr. Robotnik comes back, this time with a new partner, Knuckles, in search for an emerald that has the power to both build and destroy civilizations. Sonic teams up with his own sidekick, Tails, and together they embark on a journey to find the emerald before it falls into the wrong hands. So, Knuckles is going to start as a bad guy, which I think he did. Didn't he originally in the video games / comics? And the Chaos Emerald was always a big part of his lore. I remember the comics very well. And that was kind of a fun thing. Let's see, the rest of the copy. It makes sense that Knuckles will initially want to take Sonic down, given the history between their ancestors, though we're sure they'll eventually become friends and partners. While that's likely to take a while, Sonic and Tails teaming is bound to make fans of the video games very happy. As for Robotnik, fans are hoping that Jim Carrey will undergo some sort of transformation that brings him a little more in line with what we're used to seeing from Eggman in the video games. Let's see, we've seen photos from the set of Sonic 2, but those reveal little more than the fact Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles will share the screen at some point. So, I like this too, that also it seems like they're not going to focus too much on the human characters, which is something I think they always get wrong in these animated / live action films. It's like, you know, I don't mind him having a human sidekick, but let's not forget the focus of the story should be on Sonic and all the otherworldly things that entails. All right, so let me know what you think about Sonic 2. Sonic 2 coming out April 8th, 2022. So, little less than a year away. All right, next up, let's see. We've got some news on Aquaman 2. Again, not anything particularly solid, but the story as follows: with over 1.1 billion at the worldwide box office, 2018's Aquaman is easily the DCEU's most successful release. As a result, it's no surprise that a sequel is in development since the first installment made such a splash. Now we have an update from Jason Momoa. Appearing on the Drew Barrymore show, he confirmed that he wrote Aquaman 2's story treatment before director James Wan and writer David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick expended on the ideas and penned the screenplay. After we ended the first one, I went in with my writing partner and we dreamed up the second one. And we went in and pitched the idea. And the best thing I can give you is that I love it so much that I participated in the writing of it. And so we did the first treatment, and then James and our original writer David finished it off, and all of our hearts are in it. Instead of just getting a script and doing that like you are 100% being encouraged by your director and co-writer. So that's exciting for me, and I'm excited to go over there. As for when the sequel begins filming, the actor added, "I leave in July and we start filming." Little is known about the plot, though it's expected that the villainous Black Manta will return. Orm will also likely factor into the new story in some capacity, and we'll be surprised if the movie doesn't add at least one new bad guy. So yeah, I think Aquaman was an underrated hit. I don't think too many people talk about it and sort of gush over it. No pun intended. But I really liked the film. I thought it was good. I thought it was great. And I'd love to see more in this universe. Again, it seems like it's taking forever for them to sort of get there to get us the sequel. But let me know what you think about Aquaman 2. What are you looking forward to, if anything, in that film? All right. Also, on tap in the DCEU, we have the sequel to Shazam. Apparently, Dr. Sylvana will not be in Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods. Shazam Fury of the Gods has begun production. While the story is being kept under wraps, some major casting additions have pointed to the Shazam family battling the Daughters of Atlas. Where does that leave Dr. Sylvana and Mastermind, who were teased in the mid-credits scene? Unfortunately, actor Mark Strong confirms to Den of Geek he won't be coming back for the sequel. I literally spoke to the producer last night because I saw that Zach Levy tweeted that they're about to start shooting in Atlanta. Dr. Sylvana isn't in Shazam 2. What's happened is I think Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu and perhaps someone else, they've got some female villains in. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy to take a back seat to those female villains and let them have a go because judging by the work Emma Thompson and Emma Stone have done in Cruella, it's about time. Despite that, Strong admits that he remains open to returning to the Shazam franchise somewhere down the line. Who knows? He's still got unfinished business with Mr. Mind. In related news, Murphy's Multiverse is reporting that Djimon Hounsou will be back for the sequel as the Wizard. While he'd been reduced to ash by the end of the movie, it would make sense for him to play a part in the story in flashbacks if we are going to explore the origins of the Shazam family powers. Hounsou will also probably factor into Black Adam's backstory. So, kind of disappointing there. I thought that was cute what they were building up with Mastermind because that's a really interesting character. You have like a worm, a caterpillar actually, that has like the most genius level intellect and so on and so forth. It would have been pretty fun to see him and Sylvana come back. I would hope at least that Black Adam will be the main villain for Shazam 3. But the problem with that is they're giving Black Adam his own vehicle, his own movie. It kind of feels like they want to make him a hero. I don't think they're really going to make him the main villain of another Shazam film. At best, they're probably going to just tussle at the beginning, and then the next thing, before you know it, they're best buds. That's kind of the way these things work. But let me know what you think about this Shazam 2 news in the comments below. Always fun to hear these stories begin to trickle out. Trickle, trickle, trickle. All right. Next up, we have some information on the Batgirl project. The Warner Brothers long-gestating Batgirl movie is finally gaining some momentum. Bad Boys for Life directors Idil El Arbi and Billa Fall set to helm the DC Comics adaptation. I hope I didn't butcher those names as much as I'm pretty sure I did. Christina Hodson, who wrote Bumblebee and also worked on Birds of Prey and The Flash, penned the most recent draft of the script. Does that mean I should start panicking now or later? I don't know. This, of course, is a cosplayer, which I thought looked perfect for Batgirl. Let us hope that, the casting will be equally as good as this lady looks here as Batgirl. But she's a redhead, so whenever a character is a redhead, you have to have pause. You know what I mean? It gives you pause. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. With Batgirl, we hope to take the audience on a fun ride and see a different side of Gotham, said producer Kristen Burr. Christina's script is crackling with spirit. Adil and Bilal have an excited and joyous energy, which is infectious, making them the perfect filmmakers for this Bat project, and I'm just psyched to get to be part of the DC universe, which is super cool. Which I'm hoping this You know, the problem I have with the DCEU in general, is they keep putting out these superhero spin-off projects without giving us an actual honest to goodness. I mean, they're giving us the Batman, but apparently that is another retake at the origin, another stab at the origin. And it's like, give us an established Bat family first. Give us Batman and Robin and Batgirl, and then throw in Nightwing at some point. Then you can do the Batgirl solo movie, and then we can do a Nightwing movie and this and that. But that's not the way they want to play it. That ain't their MO. Avengers director Joss Whedon was originally attached to Batgirl, but parted ways with the project in 2018 after claiming he failed to crack the story. Adil and Bilal successfully revitalized the Bad Boys franchise with a highly profitable third installment and helmed episodes of the upcoming Disney Plus Ms. Marvel. So, let me know what you think. You have any hope for the Batgirl, I suppose, feature film? I don't know. Is this this is going to be an HBO Max? Let me see. I think I might have missed that in the copy. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the duo have closed their deal to direct the project, which is reportedly being developed as an HBO Max movie. There's no word on whether a theatrical release is planned. So, yeah, this might be just sort of a made-for HBO Max project, which might still be good. Who knows? But this doesn't look like it's going to be a big-budget feature. So, once again, keep your eyes peeled and your ear to the ground for more info on that. Okay, let's see. This is also something that just broke the other day. Reminds me of Uncle Traveling Matt from Fraggle Rock. Every single time he opened his postcards with, "The other day I was..." whatever. Okay, I digress. Let's see. This is Batman Caped Crusader. We're getting a new Batman animated series. Confirmed that Batman Caped Crusader is coming to HBO Max and the Cartoon Network, utilizing state-of-the-art animation. This isn't a sequel to Batman the Animated Series. Now, this is, again, why? Why do this? This is going to be another reboot, another reinvention. I hated when they did this after Batman the Animated Series with the Batman, and then we had, The Batman Strikes, Batman Brave and the Bold. Why can't we just, just for clarification, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are still both alive. They both still can speak. Why don't we have a Batman the Animated Series sequel series at this point? I'm afraid, sometimes you're afraid to go back that they might ruin these things, but at least give it a shot. We could just pretend it never happened if it stinks. But hey, whatever. Let's see. The show will reportedly reinvent Batman and his iconic rogues gallery with sophisticated storytelling, nuanced characters, and intense action sequences, all set in a visually striking world. It is always fun to feed the insatiable appetite fans have for all things Batman, Warner Media executive Tom Ascham said in a statement. Batman Caped Crusader will entertain first-time and die-hard fans alike with such an impressive creative team in place. We know we have another future Batman classic in the making. Batman the Animated Series was a masterpiece that shaped the perception of the character for an entire generation of fans, adds fellow executive Sam Register. It is in that spirit that we are bringing together three master storytellers in J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Tim Bruce. That doesn't really sound that good, huh? I'm not too impressed with that cast, to be honest with you. Each with their own intuitive understanding and affection for the character to create a new series that will continue in the same groundbreaking legacy. Now, let's be honest. Bruce Timm is a legend. Bruce Timm is partially responsible for what made Batman the Animated Series so great. The designs were top-notch, stellar, but you needed Paul Dini. That's kind of also what people forget. Every Jack Kirby needs a Stan Lee. Every Bruce Timm needs a Paul Dini. You know, I can't really see this taking off because we've seen what Bruce Timm is capable of by himself. He doesn't particularly have a great track record of doing these projects by himself, on his own. So that is concerning. J.J. Abrams, again, I don't have to belabor the point that the guy is the Grim Reaper of franchise. He's destroyed pretty much every franchise he's touched. And I don't see how him being on this would not be the kiss of death to the Batman franchise as well. Matt Reeves, it remains to be seen exactly what he's going to bring to the table. I suppose this is another, it's a soft sequel to probably The Batman. And we've seen things like that before with like Spider-Man, the MTV series, which it was supposed to be sort of a soft continuation of the Raimi series, which was nothing like the Raimi series. It was terrible. And the only thing it had in common with it was they weren't dealing with the Green Goblin because it took place after the first Spider-Man movie and before Spider-Man 2. So they weren't going to touch Doc Ock either. So basically, they just took those two villains off the table and did their own takes on the Lizard and Electro and I believe Kraven. I can't remember. It felt like at best Smallville writing. They were just trying to be edgy. I don't know what that really pretends to with this. If it's going to be on the Cartoon Network, it's probably going to be a little bit more serious than not. But I don't know. Let's see. In a joint statement together, the three said, "We are beyond excited to be working together to bring this character back to tell engrossing new stories in Gotham. The series will be thrilling, cinematic, and evocative of Batman's noir roots while diving deeper into the psychology of these iconic characters. We cannot wait to share this new world." Yeah, I bet you can't. So let me know what you think about Batman, Caped Crusader. Do you have any hope for this new series or what? I don't know. All right. In that vein, we're still talking about the Caped Crusader, and we're still talking about Matt Reeves. There was a little bit, not as much as I expected, a little bit of an internet hullabaloo over these released images from the Batman. Now, we'd already seen the trailer for Batman back, what was it, like August of last year, September, I can't remember. Around then we got the trailer, and we saw basically the Riddler in this new appearance he has, which looks like, I don't know, he's wrapped in duct tape. His head is wrapped in duct tape, or I don't know, he looks like Dr. Doom to me, the Man in the Iron Mask or something. It's just ridiculous, this image. And everybody, of course, did what everybody does in this case and was like, no, you don't understand. This is the creation of the character. He will become the Riddler as we know him by the end of the movie. He will, I don't know, this, that, and the other thing. You know how it goes at this point. Don't judge it until you see it. Don't judge it until you see it. Well, how many times have we been down this path? This is going to be his look pretty much for the whole movie. So no bowler derby, no jumpsuit with question marks. And, of course, you're going to have all the usual suspects saying, oh, but it's serious. You know, the same way that we had to deal with the Joker. This is a serious exploration of society and what kind of effect it has on the incels and the common man who can be pushed to the brink of psychoses by his society's lack of understanding and empathy. I don't know. I am just sick of this. I am sick of this crap. I'm sick of every single Batman movie and spinoff having to do with societal upheaval and telling us, a social political message, having an allegory on how society is. I mean, they kind of did this even back in Batman 89, and I didn't appreciate it then either with the whole, what does this do to a person? What makes somebody driven to become Batman and put on the suit and this and that? I mean, if you're doing an origin, of course you want to explore the roots of the character, which I think they did very well in Batman Begins. They pretty much summed it up in one sentence, where he kind of just goes, I need to shake people out of apathy, and I need a bold, dramatic scene, to make an entrance boldly and dramatically. Not that he says that, but basically that's what he's saying, and that's all you really need in terms of explanation. But now we have every villain has got to have a motive, that society shaped him that way, and he really has something important to say, but nobody wants to listen to him, so he's going to extremes. And it can't be just that he has fun outwitting the police and eventually Batman, and he's colorful and over the top. No, he looks like some kind of, I don't even know what he looks like, to be totally honest with you. I don't view such images. I have no idea. So this is kind of crazy. And let's see, is there any copy that comes to this? This comes from a calendar. The calendar for the Matt Reeves' The Batman spotlights images of Robert Pattinson's Dark Knight, a glimpse of Paul Dano's take on the Riddler. Let's see. There is only one image of Selina Kyle, played by Zoe Kravitz, and no sign of Colin Farrell's Penguin. There's also cool new shots of the Batman and the Batmobile. So again, this is completely reinventing the character. This is unnecessary at best, a disaster in the making at worst. If you wanted to do something like this, you best take your business elsewhere. You know what I mean? Don't start trying to reinvent the wheel with the superhero genre. Not every villain has to have this meaningful social political message. Some villains are just bad. I know it's hard to believe. They are just out for themselves. They're out for power. They're out for money. They're out for some form of fame, which is what I would say that the Joker, for instance, is a good example of that. The Riddler probably as well. They get off on kind of being the center of attention and so on and so forth. Others crave power, like Luthor or something like that. Dr. Doom, obviously. Some have a legitimate reason behind what they're doing, such as Magneto, but they're trying to sort of, this new wave of deconstructing the villains. Every villain's got to be like Magneto. Every villain you got to empathize with. You've got to understand where they're coming from. That they're doing what they're doing for the right reasons, but the wrong way. It's just ridiculous. It's silly, and they really need to step up their game there in Hollywood. And I haven't seen anything really I liked about the Batman yet. I don't think Pattinson looks too bad in the costume, but it looks like same old, same old. And of course Zoe Kravitz, the race changed Catwoman, the race changed Commissioner Gordon, this ridiculous looking design for the Riddler. This is the easiest pass for me in the world. There's a lot of movies coming up I'm gonna pass on, and some of them I feel like, well, I really would like to see how this is, even though I know they're going to spit in my eye. You know what I mean? I know they're going to give me the finger, but I kind of want to see what this is like. This, honestly, if I never see this movie, I don't think I'll never lose an ounce of sleep in my life if I never see this movie. And, you have a lot of people that they just have to consume. They have to consume. They have to consume. And they're going to see this movie 10 times just because it says the Batman in the title. And again, I think it's totally fair to make a judgment on what you have seen, what they've shown you so far. Do I want to throw this thing my money? Do I want to? Not from what they've shown me. I mean, will I see this maybe someday on television? Yeah, probably. Maybe I'll even pick up the DVD if I want to throw $10 out the window. Who knows? But, chances are this is not something I'm going to look forward to and try to get out of my way to go see. All right. Our final story of the evening. Yes, I've kept you folks long enough. The hour is nearly up. So let's get to the final story. And please, let me know what you think about the Batman. Let me know what you think about the Riddler. And what do you think about these villains in general that all need to have some kind of sob story and have to be reinvented and we have to take them seriously? And I don't know. All right. Next up, Superman is getting the woke treatment. Yeah, isn't that fun? Following the big Batman Caped Crusader news, it's been confirmed that My Adventures with Superman is also coming to HBO Max and Cartoon Network. Described as an all-new kids and family animated series that will follow the action-packed, comedic, and romantic adventures of Superman and Lois Lane, the show has received a 2-season series order. All right, so let's just well, let me read the copy. Let me get the copy out of the way so we can just break this down and break it down like it's never been broke down before. My Adventures with Superman catches up with 20-something Clark Kent, the bright and driven Lois Lane, and their best friend Jimmy Olsen as they begin to discover who they are and everything they can accomplish together as an investigative reporting team at the Daily Planet. Superman has remained one of the most iconic and beloved superheroes in the world, said Amy Friedman, head of kids and family programming. This fresh take from the Warner Brothers animation team delivers a modern, relatable Clark Kent alongside a fearless, whip-smart Lois Lane, who are navigating the small tasks of both becoming adults and trying to save the world. In the serialized coming-of-age story, we follow Clark as he builds his secret Superman identity and embraces his role as the hero of Metropolis, and perhaps the world. Lois, now growing into a star reporter, takes aspiring photographer Jimmy Olsen under her wing. All the while, Clark and Lois are falling in love, sharing adventures, taking down bad guys, stumbling over secrets, and discovering what it means to be Superman and Lois Lane. Jack Quaid of The Boys and Alice Lee from Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist lead the voice cast as Clark Kent and Lois Lane, respectively. My Adventures with Superman is produced by Warner Brothers Animation. Sam Register, Teen Titans Go, serves as executive producer. Jake Wyatt and Vader Zim enter the Florpus, and Brendan Kloger, a Voltron legendary defender, are on board as executive producers, and Josie Campbell, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, as co-producer. Now you see where this is all coming from. Now you can see where this is all coming from. Voltron, legendary defender, producer. That show, I can't even say words on my own channel that will describe how bad that show was. She-Ra and the Princess of Power, that destroyed the legend of She-Ra for a generation. Teen Titans Go, of course, was also pretty sad pickings. But this is to be expected. You know, this is to be expected when you have these people in charge. And we have woke, as I said in the title card, the woke cudgel is basically scourged Superman with kryptonite. All right, so let's break it down. I criticized this on Twitter. And if you ever want to laugh, you should see the outpouring of rage from snowflake SJWs who are just falling all over themselves with glee and delight over this apparent feminine take on Clark, this masculine take on Lois, and this race-changed, black-faced Jimmy Olsen. First, let's take the obvious one, Jimmy Olsen. Let's take a look at him first. Of course, got to get rid of them gingers. For some reason, them redheads got to go. They got to go. And once they did this with Supergirl's Makad Brooks playing Jimmy Olsen, I knew right then and there that it's going to be a case of once you go black, you never go back. It's the same thing they did with Iris West. It was one thing to say, okay, we're going to cast the best actress for Iris West, and they figure, okay, Candace Patton's the best actress we can find for Iris West. But no, the idea now is Iris West is now and always will be a black woman. So you cannot cast a white actress in the, the WB DCEU version. So that's kind of where we're at here with Jimmy Olsen now. It's like they have rebranded Jimmy Olsen from the CW show to being black, and he is no longer a ginger, and you will not see him white again when it's time to do the next big budget Superman movie and they decide to use Jimmy Olsen. He's going to be black again. This is just the decree. When they do the Fantastic Four movie again, better than even odds, they are going to cast a black Johnny Storm. That is basically where we're at now, where once they have race changed a character, they are not going to go back to the default version of that character. That character has been claimed by the black community, and they are not going to let them go. Now, again, I say this, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of, a lot of chest thumping, for lack of a better term, about how this is such a bold and progressive take. It's really not. You're really not gaining anything. And I know, like I said many times before, there are a lot of fans that are black that don't want to see race change, race bent, black-faced characters. It's an insult. You've got, off the top of my head, I know you've got Ron Troop in the Superman legacy, a character that's been around as long as Superman for 80 years. You're going to find black characters during that run. Maybe it was only even for the past 30 years, but you're still going to find them. You could have put him in this show if you wanted some diversity. And as I've always said, the problem is not with adding diversity, it's with race-changing characters. It's like, well, nobody knows Ron Troop. Well, guess what? You put him into the series, you give him a starring role, or, a co-starring role. I imagine Superman and Lois are the stars, but you give him a co-starring role, and you're going to have fans. That's kind of how it works. That's kind of how it worked with Lucius Fox. Quite honestly, nobody outside of, being in the comics knew who Lucius Fox was. Then you've seen Batman Begins, and suddenly it dawns on everybody, yeah, Lucius Fox was an important person in the comics. You can do the same thing here, but of course, that takes time. That takes work. Why should we build up an existing black character? Why should we create a new black character and build them up when we can just take Jimmy Olsen, a character that's older than your grandfather, and just blackface him? And honestly, that's all it is just blackfacing him. This is no different than, the blackface of the 20s, or, where you're basically taking a white character, a white actor, and you're just coloring over him. And that's not the character. The character is a redhead. The character is a ginger. You're not doing yourself a favor by saying, well, we're taking the sloppy seconds. We're going to just take a character that exists, and because we can't create anything better or as compelling as an existing character that's been around for like 78 years, we'll just make up make up an excuse and say, well, it's too tough. We'll just make Jimmy Olsen black. It's a terrible thing to do. It looks like they're also kind of doing some kind of race change with Lois. I don't know exactly what it is. Of course, they make Clark here look like the typical white boy putz. And he's, looks kind of weak, kind of effeminate. And I understand that, particularly in the Christopher Reeve era, and consequently most incarnations, Clark usually comes off as as a wuss, as a klutz. He covers up his machismo, so to speak, by being, sort of ditzy and clumsy and so forth. So, that remains to be seen how they're going to play him. Let's take a look at Lois Lane now. This is probably the biggest insult of all. Honestly, would you know that that was a female character if you weren't told? She's got an earring, which, honestly, in this day and age probably doesn't mean very much. The haircut is fairly undistinguishable from Clark's. Honestly, it looks almost exactly the same. It looks fairly masculine. She has this really strange stance, this wide-legged stance, which is kind of masculine as well. We have the unflattering Mick Jagger-esque outfit she's wearing that looks like it came out of Mick Jagger's closet circa 1979. No feminine bosoms really to be seen, if I may be so bold. And again, this is a character who is, I don't think I'm going too far as to say the first lady of comics. Lois Lane was there before anyone else. Lois Lane is basically the first lady of comics. She's the Martha Washington of comics. You know what I mean? If Superman is the father of superheroes, then Lois Lane is the mother. And, here she looks like, I don't know what she looks like. She looks like a 13-year-old boy, quite honestly. And again, it looks like they're playing up the same Mary Sue type trope. She's going to lead Clark around by the ear. He's going to just be totally whipped, and it's going to be all Lois all the time. And he's going to kind of just try to figure out where he fits in Lois' world. People, and like I said, I heard it a lot on Twitter. People think that I'm going too far in saying these things. History. What do they say about history? Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. How many times we have to have this narrative, this woke narrative in our shows and our movies and our fiction without finally being able to say, I can smell this from a mile away. I can smell this coming from a mile away like roadkill when I'm going for a walk. You can smell it coming up half a block away. And that's exactly what I see here. This is going to be the same crap, the same garbage, the same excrement that we've been given every single time, and they want to reinvent it, and they want to get rid of that darn male gaze as much as humanly possible, because it is the worst thing that exists in society today. Just for kicks, let me show you what Lois Lane looked like in Superman, the animated series. If you forget, she actually looked like a woman. They weren't afraid to basically accentuate her curves. Her hair is feminine looking. She's wearing lipstick. It's the basically quintessential Lois Lane look. Lois Lane has always kind of looked like this. They've done different things. A lot of people are trying to, they always got to have some kind of like excuse that they're going to rally around. And the excuse that I kept getting on Twitter is, oh, you just don't like it because her hair is short. Women can have short hair, and you're acting like short hair is a crime. No, because quite honestly, Lois Lane has had short hair off and on over her 80-ish year history. One of my favorite interpretations of Lois was from the 80s animated series from Ruby Spears. And that Lois Lane had short hair. It kind of looked like the Wasp, that kind of hairdo. But she still looked like a woman. She still dressed like this, pretty much. And again, we weren't afraid of that dreaded male gaze. We weren't afraid that, oh my gosh, someone might be admiring Lois's figure. Someone might actually notice she's female. And again, this is the craziness of the woke agenda. And I will point out how ridiculous it is each and every time it's on display. And again, this is only going to get oxygen if we let it, this show. It's only going to get oxygen if nobody puts their foot down and says, this is ridiculous. And I tried to argue these things with people. I had arguments, well, she looks like a tomboy. There's no crime in being a tomboy. A tomboy does not mean butch lesbian. A tomboy does not mean masculating a feminine character. As I said on Twitter, Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island was considered a tomboy. That was not meaning that she was butch. That just meant that she was not glammed up, gussied up to the hilt with a lot of makeup. It just means that she was more, simply attired and was not afraid to sort of, get down in the mud and play with the boys. That's kind of what a tomboy meant. If you were a kid in the 80s and you were a girl and you wanted to go and play baseball with the guys, it wasn't really considered that you were being butch. It was considered that you were a tomboy. In the same way, there was the opposite of that for men as well. There was sort of being the homebody, the nerd kind of, there's always been these sort of terms assigned to people for sort of what the social norm isn't. But again, like I said, this is just more woke nonsense, more garbage. You're going to have the same 12 internet weirdos piling on and just dancing in the streets. We won, we won. And I even confronted one of them. What have you won? And I feel bad because I know these kids are all products of their generation. This is what they've been taught for the last 10 years. This is what they've been taught probably for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. The male gaze is horrible. You can't look at a woman and notice her femininity. You can look at a man and notice his masculinity. That's not really that bad because, basically, you know, dare I say, the gay demographic and stuff, that makes it all right. He-Man can still be shirtless and whatever, but you dare not look at a female character as being feminine. It's just a no-no. And of course, the woke nonsense of the race changing characters. We have to make sure that every diversity box is checked. Lois is probably of some mixed race as well. It's basically just going to carry on until people start putting their foot down and saying, look, there was nothing wrong with Jimmy Olsen the way he was originally designed. Being a ginger is not uncool or bad in any stretch of the imagination, and having a Lois Lane that actually looks feminine, there's nothing wrong with it. It's something to be applauded, actually. When that's the problem, art has become so woke that you cannot depict anything as beautiful by the standard of what has traditionally been depicted as beauty. If you see a slim, trim, beautiful Lois Lane, you're honestly going to make a fat person feel bad. And it's like, well, that is not my problem. You know what I mean? If you're fat and, well, let's just say overweight, that is not the fault of anyone. It might not even be your own problem. I mean, quite honestly, a lot of people sort of don't want to take the responsibility of taking care of themselves and losing weight. But there are people that do have some kind of problems where their metabolism will be responsible for them being overweight as well. So, I mean, again, we can't try to chide the beautiful because the people that have obviously difficulty in keeping their weight down and stuff. We can't do that. It's the same way as this whole thing of I have to be able to see myself in every show. If you're black, you have to be able to see yourself in a show. If you're Asian, you have to be able to see yourself in a show. If you're Latino, you have to be able to see yourself in a show. Why? You're supposed to be gravitating towards the characters, the writing. I mean, I watch Black Panther, I watch Black Lightning. I don't watch these things because I expect to see myself physically represented in these movies and these shows. I see these shows and movies because I want to enjoy these characters. I want to enjoy the story being told. I don't feel like I have to identify. And in many cases, like for instance, as I said with the Black Panther, I don't feel like I even need to see Ross in that movie at all. He really brought nothing to that film. If it was an entirely black cast, I mean, well, you still had Claw, I guess, but you don't really need to have a white character in an all-black cast for me to watch it. So why does this feel like something that's being imposed on these shows, these stories, these films? I don't understand it. It's just woke nonsense, and it's going to constantly be a thorn in the side of true creativity and true artistic beauty so long as we let it. And the way we don't allow it is, like I said, to just deprive it of oxygen. Don't give it views and don't give it clicks, and don't waste your time, and certainly don't waste any money on it. That's the only way to send them a message. The wallet is where these companies and stuff feel it the most. Pretty much the only place they feel it. Either some bad press maybe will influence them a little bit as well, but quite honestly, nothing speaks louder than the good old dollar. All right, so there we have it for another week in the books. Thank you for joining us. For the few of you that I think I've seen flitter in and out, don't be shy. Leave a comment. Leave a like if you like our content. I really enjoy telling it like it is, both here on Twitter. I'm not afraid to just go there where I know a lot of people don't want to go there. Doesn't make you a bad guy to tell the truth and say, look, This stuff is really horrible. You're ruining the art form of comics, the art form of storytelling, the art form of humor, especially. You can't tell a joke anymore. I mean, I got a couple of jokes that I've laughed at that I know if I told them today, I would, be ostracized. And it isn't because, you're a misogynist, you're a racist, you're a whateverist that you want to put to it. It's because people have lost the ability to laugh at themselves. People have lost the ability to have fun and just say, this is funny, that's beautiful. I enjoy that because it's exciting, it's great, it's funny. People have lost the ability to say these things because they're so afraid of what the woke mob is going to do in canceling them. And they're so afraid also that, people are going to get the wrong idea of me. They're going to think I'm this, they're going to think I'm that. I said something back in 2012 or something that now they're going to find, and you can't have that mentality, or you'll never be free, really. And that's what matters to me: freedom. I don't want anybody to be able to impose on me their rules, society's rules. There are no rules. Just as long as you don't hurt anybody, as long as you're not being malicious, you're not trying to hurt somebody. That's the best you can aspire to. Just don't try to hurt anybody. Don't try to hurt feelings if it's possible. But the problem is, there's a lot of snowflakes. There's a lot of snowflakes who'll find anything offensive nowadays, and you got to watch your every last word. Examine every single sentence you say. It's pretty sad. All right, so we'll see you back next week at our regularly scheduled time here on the only way to spend your Saturday on the Johnnie Torch Live broadcast. Make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye in the link in the description below. And until next we meet, this is Johnnie Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.